Yeah, so Ian, what's our hot take this time?
We got to get back. You and I talked about this. I want to hear more about Ben Simmons playing center. This crazy idea that you had. Ben Simmons playing center. Let's talk about it.
All right, let's go. Okay, so Ben Simmons, right? When he first came into the league, he has been touted as the next Magic Johnson to this weird freak anomaly of a 6'10" point guard, right?
Yep.
You know about
that was all the rage.
Right.
Next LeBron.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Look, we're kind of counter to LeBron, maybe. And again, kind of thinking about those like weirdly tall centers. I'm sorry, point guards. But here's the trick. Here's the difference about Ben Simmons as opposed to LeBron. Because LeBron, for all of his passing acumen and everything else, he's always played more of a point forward position. Whereas Ben Simmons was legitimately playing point guard.
Yes.
That was his role.
Forward.
That was his.
Never
that's
forward.
Where he was. He had other forwards on the team. He had another guard. He had Joel Embiid. He was the point guard. Here's the trick. He definitely should not be a guard. Because even way back to when the NBA really truly became an entity, guards needed to be able to do one thing, whether you're playing point or we call shooting guard, but really effectively, guards needed to be able to handle the ball, which Ben can do.
Yes.
But you also needed to be able to shoot. Let's shoot back into current NBA, right?
Sure. It's 10 times.
Small forwards have to be able to shoot the ball. Though I would say like the whole like 3-point shooting, small forward really started really kick into the 90s. You get Dennis Scott, Glenn Rice, various others. You've had the Peja Stojakovic. You've had those 3-point shooting small forwards. But now, as the NBA has shifted, now you even have power forwards that have to be able to shoot the three.
Sure.
Which Ben Simmons can't do. Oh, let's also call it the fact that Ben Simmons can't even shoot a long mid-range shot. If it ain't right at the basket.
If you remember 3 years ago or 2 years ago at this point, I've kind of lost track. He hasn't played in so long. When the last time he played for the 76ers, I think it was 2 years now.
Yeah.
He couldn't make layups. He deferred layups.
Well, and again, so, I think there's a whole mental issue with Ben Simmons that really needs to get worked out here.
Sure.
My hot take is really more about the fact that this is your last chance, brah.
Center.
That's him playing center. So let's talk about what he brings to the table, and yes, what he will need to work on. Because yes, he's going to need to work on some shit. Ben Simmons is going to have to work. The thing is, regardless of what position you put Ben Simmons on, he's going to have to work on some stuff. There's no position on the floor that you could put him on that he's not going to have to work on something. But I'm thinking center is a position that he's actually better suited to develop the skill set to get there.
So let me ask. Yeah. Let's start with the most obvious question, right? All right. Lineup. What are you looking for?
Lineup?
He's at center. What's your lineup?
Well, so this is another area where I think it actually helps Ben Simmons. I think right now the Brooklyn Nets are actually the best team to put him in at center, because outside of another team out in old San Fran, the Brooklyn Nets actually have one of the deeper 3-point shooting teams in the league.
That's the hot takes. I just heard Jarrett say that the best 3-point shooting team in the league is the Brooklyn Nets.
I did not. I said other than the team. That's a whole nother hot take. We can talk about that.
But for real, you look at the 3-point shooting on this team, you're talking about, of course, you got KD and Kyrie. They can both shoot threes and they can do it at a high clip. But you're also talking about Joe Harris, Wahoo Wah.
Wahoo Wah.
Damn right he can. Seth Curry, the brother of that other guy. They kind of know about shooting. TJ Warren isn't a bad 3-point shooter.
No, he's not.
They can roll some guys out there, definitely. So you're saying around him, Ben Simmons, who can't shoot, you roll him out here.
Exactly. So here's the thing, and even like if you look at like Royce O'Neal, who's more known about his defensive capabilities, is actually shooting around that 30-ish point percentage range.
Well, that's sort of what he did when he was in Utah.
But it's enough. It's enough to keep the defense honest, right?
Yeah.
Fair enough. So it's like, okay, we're trading off.
Like you can with Ben Simmons out there.
Exactly.
Right.
He doesn't need to be on the perimeter like that. So you've got guys in place that can shoot very, very well from three. Other players that can shoot appropriately for three, based on the role that they're actually really out there for, say a Royce O'Neal. So then you have a Ben Simmons who, folks, check out the JJ Redick podcast. He actually had Ben Simmons as a guest, and he was talking to Ben Simmons and kind of going through some of the controversy and various things. JJ Redick, as absolutely 100% known as a 3-point shooter in the league, called out the fact that Ben Simmons has, for a very long time when he was playing in Philly, the most effective assist to 3-point shot ratio in the league.
Okay, so
the guys. So what that means is like your assist, your pass out to the 3-point shot resulted in a made shot.
Gotcha.
He had, for his assists to 3-point shooters, had the highest percentage. Now, a lot of that speaks to the shooters you had around you. But guess what? The 76ers at that time did not have the shooters that Ben Simmons has around him now.
No.
Period.
Did they have Seth Curry? I think him and Seth, they played together at the 76ers.
Yes.
I believe
yes,
so.
they did. Yes, they did. And I don't know if it was it the same time as JJ? I think Seth came in after JJ. It was kind of a replacement for.
He was the replacement.
And so, I think JJ helped along with that. And then even Tobias Harris, other people on the floor really kind of helped to Richardson helped out with that as well. I mean, you got to have the shooters around you, but also it kind of speaks to the fact that Simmons is the kind of player that is very comfortable being that kick out guy to
running
the offense and then helping to facilitate that 3-point shot.
So what are your five? What are you thinking? Your
five?
I'm thinking at least out there with him, or your 4 out there with him.
4 out there with him. Effectively, what I'm thinking here to really best maximize this, you got to go Kyrie. You've got to go Seth Curry, Joe Harris at the 3, KD at the 4. Which again, like I spoke to before, I think KD is best suited at the 4 in today's league.
And he's a little older. You don't need him out there.
Yeah. You can kind of he's able. He doesn't necessarily have to be a cutter. He can kind of help out. And KD's actually, I think, an underrated
defensively too. You don't want him trying to chase down guys out on the perimeter.
but he's a good assist help defender in the paint. But
Right.
also, you don't have to be the cutter at the power forward position that you really would expect more at the, say, like the 3 or the 2.
Sure. Yeah.
So you have that ability, and then you also have, again, we talked about Patty Mills, T.J. Warren, Royce O'Neal, some other folks that can come in that can effectively shoot threes, not necessarily be like top notch. But again, if you have a guy like Ben Simmons, and again, if you get him to a position where he's comfortable and he's able to work within his own mentality, the way he works best, he's a guy that could actually make those guys shoot better.
Fair enough.
Because again, you bring those stats into what he showed in Philly, he's a guy that could help facilitate that. And I think, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to ask. I said, so do you see him being a starting center in the NBA, and they roll out there with that lineup as their 5 starters? Or do you see this more of a hybrid, middle of the game, middle of the second quarter, when you go to your bench and you can kind of bring this lineup in and out for 10-minute stretches here and there, 10 minute stretches?
I think it's very situational.
Okay. Definitely not starting.
Well, maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. And that's why I mean it's situational. Because if you look at the NBA right now, it is a story of teams with completely different philosophies about the center position.
Sure.
We have these vestigial giants that are actually starting to really pose problems in the league right now.
It's starting to revert. Everything's that ebb and flow.
It's cyclical.
It's
I
like
think
in
things
football
are
now, where running games have started to come back because everybody was throwing and everybody got small on defense.
Starting that spread offense, like next thing you know, I'm going to run you through the gut because you can't stop me.
Everybody's 5'10" now, so here we go. Yeah, and you're starting to see that.
In today's NBA, you're starting to see more and more of those big dominant centers coming in. And yes, that is the one counterpoint that I see about this approach. But there are still a lot of teams with 6'8" guys starting at center.
Yeah,
that really should be small forwards, much less power forwards. And I bet you if you really start to build that into Ben Simmons' mentality, that it's like, hey, you know what? We're going to let you be the bully out there. No, we're not going to start you against Joel Embiid. We're not going to start you against Rudy Gobert.
Please let that happen.
I know Joel Embiid would love to see it.
I want to see all of that. I know. That would be must-see TV.
And granted, if you did this, ultimately you would see that matchup because you can't necessarily control who the other team subs in when.
Yes.
So ultimately you would, and yes, that might be a weakness, and then you might need to figure that out. Are you better maybe even putting KD kind of at that? But again, you also can't control who guard to. So
no, there's we're always one pick away from you being on the wrong person.
But if you put KD at the high block and put Ben Simmons at the perimeter, Joel Embiid's not going to be able to manage Ben Simmons at the perimeter.
And
he's not going to be able to shoot.
The antithesis of the other extreme, right?
But what I'm saying is, I'm thinking there what you could do, it's situational.
You can pester him, though.
You could. What you can do is, you could actually put KD. I wouldn't put KD at the low block, but you could bring him out at the high block and then have Ben Simmons on the perimeter and then work a scheme. Okay. This is what we're dealing with. We've got a big guy. Either the big guy is going to be up against KD, which then that again is a mismatch at its own right. Then we're going to bring somebody. Someone's going to have to go up against Ben Simmons at the perimeter here, and then we're going to then they're going to have to deal with the fact that yes, when he's on, he's one of the more dangerous drive-in kind of players because even at 6'11", he's one hell of a ball handler in his prime. So he's got that guard skill set that's not, again kind of similar to KD. That's an interesting 4 and 5 kind of matchup, kind of weirdness that you could toss in there and start to play with.
No, and NBA is all about matchups. It's all about that
100%,
weird matchup. So
100%.
if you can get guys, and sometimes regular season not so much, but come playoff time, everybody knows everyone so intricately.
Yep,
they know what you have for dinner.
When you're running
10 months
seven, maybe 8 deep, you're
right.
Then
you that might be a strength and maybe a weakness. Like we wouldn't be able to see. The biggest thing I think that would really mess with teams. Yes, they would have some with the power guys. They would just be able to kind of overpower Ben Simmons.
And
but
then
if Ben Simmons gets the rebound, there are very few, if any. There are few. That it's not none. But if Simmons gets the rebound and they all take off running, immediately you have a 5-on-4 break every time.
Well, there's that, but then if you think about this,
he's gonna outrun his power. The other team center.
Absolutely, and then you've got someone. Then he's in his natural environment. Then and then what you have
with KD on the wing,
Kyrie
filling.
You know what? Like you have
corner.
I would say you have KD, you have KD and Kyrie. Either one of them who are two of the best finishers in the league.
Right.
Period. And then, especially if you look at this lineup with either Seth Curry or Joe Harris or Patty Mills or any of those guys that can then be, like you said, out at that wing. They could be that kick out. If things don't go to plan,
hand up. I'm gonna need you right over there.
If that transition doesn't go to plan, things they are actually able to collapse, kick out, boom, done.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's my one pause here about this. We'll talk about the overall issues with Ben Simmons in a later video. We're going to have folks who are watching this video, look out for a video. We're going to be putting together a put up or shut up video around the overall NBA. Ben Simmons is going to be part of that conversation. This is a hot take, but we're not stupid. Okay? But I will to close it off. I think that let's kind of finish off with what I do see as potential pitfalls to this. Ben Simmons is going to have to be able to develop at least some level of a mid-range driving face-up kind of high post, low post face-up game. I don't think he's ever going to be a true to form, back to the basket, low post kind of center.
You don't think he's going to get some tips from Shaq and just become the next Shaq? No.
So I see him being more like a big cat. Big Cat really isn't and that's why I think actually it's good that he's moved over more to like the power forward position when Rudy's on the floor.
Yeah.
I think Big Cat is a bit more better position, but there's precedence for more of a face up 5. Garnett actually was more effective as a face up 5, really.
Sure.
And so I think there's room there, but again, Garnett had a shot.
Exactly.
So, but again, I think that what you would need to figure out is how to approach and effectively work in Simmons' offensive attack at the basket from that range. And again, it's not going to be low post center. We're talking about high post to kind of out to mid-range kind of level, so then he can work some of those centers. And then in that case, that's a situation where at least offensively, he might be able to actually school some of those bigger centers that might want to try and work with him, because they're not gonna be able to work with his ball handling. And if he can work in kind of that, not quite, kind of that what would be triple threat, but he doesn't have a shot to it. But he's such a problem with the ball handling there. I don't know if there's really anybody, if you think about it right now, like someone who could be like a face-up center against like what we have in the NBA right now. It could be kind of that weird kind of almost like an Olajuwon 2.0. You understand, you know that he has to finish on the inside, but it's like, dude, I'm going to get there anyway. I don't care what you're throwing at me.
So let's leave it on this.
Yeah,
I'll counterpoint just one thing and let us know in the comments below which way you think it.
Please do, because this is a conversation we need to have with the community.
Absolutely, we want
something we need to talk about.
That's definitely what we want to on any of these. Whether you agree with me, whether you agree with Jarrett, if you agree with both of us, or
disagree,
either
agree,
way, it doesn't
all
matter.
of it. Yes, please.
Yeah,
please.
My thing is, all the things that you talked about, there's a certain mindset to playing inside. You know that from playing ball as well.
Yep.
There's a certain mindset from being the focal point of the offense out on the wing, bringing the ball up, things like that. And it's a completely different mindset that most people don't like, particularly, especially if they've never been in there, to be inside, to set the screens, because there's the other stuff that goes along with it too. It's not just the rebounding and shooting, because everybody thinks, oh, if you go inside, you got to rebound. True, yes, he's tall enough, he should be able to tip a rebound to himself. He's a good rebounder naturally, but it's a different thing, game in, game out, and it takes a certain mindset and a tough mindset, and that has never been a strong suit of one Mr. Benjamin Simmons.
I 100% agree with that counter too. But at the same time,
let us know though.
Let's put that out. Let's put that out. Let's dissect what I've talked about here. And
if you have any ideas, if anyone else, in the comments has any ideas of some other hot takes you'd like us to talk about, please let us know. Drop a comment down there, and we'll make a video about it and talk about
it. Absolutely. Thank you. If you like talking about NBA like we do, if you like talking about all this crazy stuff like we do, this is the place to go. Welcome home.
Yep.
Right. Also, again, the other thing I'd like to throw out there, if you have any other ideas on how Ben Simmons could be best suited, other than playing a 6'11" point guard, I would love to hear those too. I love those kind of theory crafting around basketball playing and kind of how to figure out how to better position people. So if you got better ideas than I do,
suited that he finds a different profession. That might be what he's best suited for if he can't take the pressure.
Well, see, now that's the thing.
Out there
no, but see, I'm
no, but honestly, that's I'm picking. I'm totally
no. That's fair enough, but it's kind of like if he were to continue in the NBA, how would you use him? How would you position him? How would you work out him within the NBA? Again, making the fair assumption that you're not going to get one single shot. Like true shot, layups, dunks, fair enough. But you're not going to get.
You're not running any plays for him to get a jump shot.
You're not going to get a shot. You're not going to get any shots from him. 5 feet from the basket, maybe
open
7,
dunks, tip backs,
maybe 7. Yeah, I think it'd be an interesting thought experiment to try and figure out what in the hell to do with this guy. And again, like Ian talked about, we got to take the mental piece out. We got to take the mental piece out, because that's a whole nother discussion with this dude, which we'll talk about later in our put up or shut up video. So, hey, Mazel tov, dude. Good chatting you with about this stuff. Thanks
yeah.
for giving me an ear to spout off my nonsense. And with that, this is getting work. Signing off.
Later, fam.